Hello grade 11 advanced students. I will begin to explain biology chapter 1, and this will be a series of videos explaining this chapter in addition to some chapter questions that are based on the هيكل that we have. So today we're going to discuss the first lesson, which is how organisms obtain energy. The essential questions in this lesson are basically the main ideas that you should be aware of. الأشياء اللي أنت لازم أو اللي أنتوا لازم تكونوا متمكنين فيها, or you understand them so you don't do any mistakes in the exam. They are, what are the two laws of thermodynamics? So I need to know the two laws. I need to know what each law states. I need to know their differences, right? We need to talk about the difference between an anabolic and a catabolic pathway, and how does ATP work. So these are the three main ideas that we are going to explain in this lesson, and they are under the three main headings: transformation of energy, metabolism, ATP, the unit of cellular energy. Okay, so let's start with the first topic, which is transformation of energy. Anything that happens in the cell, أي شيء بيحصل في خلايا الإنسان يحتاج إلى طاقة, needs energy. Any cellular activity needs energy. تمام? So what is energy? What is energy? Energy is the ability to do work. تمام? The ability to do work. So this is the first definition in today's or in the lesson, and that is that energy is the ability to do work. Now, a type of transformation of energy that happens in our body is called thermodynamics. What is thermodynamics? It is the study of the flow and transformation of energy in the universe. So thermodynamics looks at the flow, looks at the transformation of energy. يعني thermodynamics بتكلم عن تغير الطاقة من نوع لنوع ثاني, which is transformation from one form to another. We'll look into this in more detail in a second. Now we have, as we said before, we have two laws of thermodynamics. We have the first law and we have the second law, and we'll look at each law in detail and give an example. So the first law of thermodynamics is, I'll just write its other name up here. So the first law of thermodynamics is called conservation of energy. So اسم تاني للfirst law, another name for the first law of thermodynamics is conservation of energy. إيش بيحكي هذا law? What does this law state? It states that energy, طاقة, energy can be converted from one form to another, but it cannot be created nor destroyed. إيش معنى هذا؟ We say that energy can be converted. يعني I can change energy from one form to another form. ممكن أغير الطاقة من نوع لنوع آخر. ولكن ما بستطيع إني أخترع طاقة ولا بستطيع إني أتخلص منها. I cannot create, I cannot destroy. Which basically is conservation. إذا أنت بتعرف معنى كلمة conservation تقدر تعرف معنى the first law. So the first law is the conservation of energy. إيش يعني conservation? I cannot create or destroy, and there's no loss. صح? I can convert from one form to another form without creating or destroying energy. هذا اللو الأول. إيش example على هذا اللو؟ الانرجي اللي موجود في الأكل, stored energy in food. تمام? Stored energy in food is converted to chemical energy. It's converted to chemical energy when you eat. صح? When you eat, الانرجي, الطاقة اللي موجودة في الأكل بتتحول لchemical energy, لأنه جسمك بيعمل لها digestion, بيعمل لها هضم, فبتتحول إلى chemical energy. من chemical energy بتتحول لmechanical energy, لأنه أنت بتسوي بتتحرك, فأنت بتحرق هاي الانرجي, تمام؟ أو بتستخدمها, بتستهلكها. So that is the first law done. Very easy. Let's look at the second law. The second law of thermodynamics states that energy cannot be converted without the loss of usable energy. ما معنى هذا الكلام؟ معناته إنه أنا لما أغير من form لform آخر of energy, when I change from one form to another form of energy, there's a little bit of energy that is wasted, that is lost. هاي الانرجي كان بإمكاننا إن إحنا نستخدمها ولكن it's lost. تمام؟ we lost this usable energy. لما يصير في conversion بين one type of energy to another type of energy, there is some energy lost. وأتوقع إنه معظمنا بنعرف إيش اسم هاي lost energy. Yes, it is thermal energy. Okay, so that thermal energy is the energy that's lost. هلا the energy that is lost is generally converted to thermal energy. So this lost energy زي ما حكينا is generally converted into thermal energy. هلا عنا a important vocabulary بالsecond law, and that is entropy. Entropy. Entropy is the measure. It's the measure of disorder. إيش يعني measure of disorder؟ إيش قصدهم measure of disorder؟ معناته measure of unusable energy، اللي هي الانرجي when I lost it. هلا بما انه I lost this energy معناته ما بقدر استخدمها. It's lost. It's thermal energy now. I lost it. So what is entropy? Entropy بيقول لي كم عندي، بيقيس لي كم disorder or كم unusable energy اللي موجود عندي في السيستم. How much unusable energy do I have in this system? لذلك the second law of thermodynamics can also have another name, which is entropy increases. تمام؟ هذا الاسم الثاني للsecond law. So للfirst law الاسم هو conservation of energy. للsecond law it is entropy increases. وحكينا entropy هي measure of unusable energy that I have in a system. خلينا ناخذ مثال على هذا الاشي. One example is evident in food chains. طبعا احنا بنعرف الfood chains. تمام؟ بنعرف ايش هم الfood chains او trophic levels. Okay, so we know that in food chains ايش اللي بيحصل لما اتحرك من one level of the food chain to the next. ايش بيصير عندي if I for example had 1000 calories or 1000 joules of energy available in the first trophic level أو the first level of the food chain. طبعا لازم تعرفوا إيش هم التروفيك levels. The trophic levels هم levels of the food chain. As I go up, it's a new trophic level. تمام؟ So اللي بيحكي السكند law إني أنا كل ما أتحرك من one level للlevel الثاني هاي الانرجي حتنقص عندي، ما حتكون نفسها، لأنه بس أغير من نوع انرجي لنوع انرجي ثاني هيصير في عندي loss of energy اللي هي thermal energy. فكل ما بتطلعي انت فوق هاي الانرجي اللي بلشت فيها حتقل. يعني مثلا فوق the first trophic the final trophic level حيكون مثلا تبقى عندي بس 100 calories or 100 joules of energy، ما not the 1000 that I started with، لأنه as I change from as I have flow of energy from this level to this level, from this level to this level, I have loss of energy which is thermal energy. تمام. Now we move on the second idea, or before we do that, let us discuss what are autotrophs and heterotrophs. This is still within the first idea, which is transformation of energy. هلا all organisms, we can all agree on this, إنه all organisms need energy. All organisms need energy, right? We all need energy. All organisms need energy, whether it is directly or indirectly. Now we will discuss how it is directly and how it is indirectly. Another point that we should know, nearly all energy that we acquire comes from where? From the sun. ليه؟ لأنه we know that we have plants. Will plants take their energy from the sun, and humans and animals consume plants, or the animals that humans consume have consumed plants or things like that. So all of our energy starts or comes from the sun. تمام? Now we have two types of organisms. Organisms that can make their own food and organisms that need to ingest or eat other organisms because they cannot make their own food. These two types are autotrophs and heterotrophs. From the name, من الاسم, auto يعني automatic, صح؟ يعني you can do something by yourself. So autotrophs are organisms that make their own food. بيستطيعوا انهم يعملوا اكلهم. تمام؟ الاوتوتروفز مثل البلانتس، مثل بعض البكتيريا تستطيع انها تعمل اكلها مع نفسها، يعني ما بتحتاج انها تأكل اشي تاني، لا هي بتقدر توفر طاقتها والانرجي تبعتها and make its own food. Some autotrophs are called chemi-autotrophs. Chemi-autotrophs. ليش سميناهم chemi-autotrophs؟ لأنهم بيستعملوا inorganic substances. Inorganic substances such as hydrogen sulfide as a source of energy. اسمهم chemi-autotrophs لأنهم بيستخدموا الأشياء الكيميائية أو inorganic substances مثل الهيدروجين سولفيد، يعني بيستخدموا molecules as their source of energy. Other autotrophs مثل plants convert light energy to chemical energy. Light energy to chemical energy. وهدول الأوتوتروفز بنسميهم photo-autotrophs. وإحنا بنعرف فوتو ترمز إلى اللايت، إلى الصن. تمام؟ فمعناته هم بيستخدموا الطاقة من الشمس لحتى يعملوا chemical energy اللي هي الانرجي اللي هي للفود اللي إحنا بنحتاجه. تمام؟ So photo-autotrophs do what? They change light energy, or they convert light energy into what? Into chemical energy, and they are called photo-autotrophs. تمام؟ some are plants. طبعا أشهر إشي photo-autotrophs are plants. Then we have heterotrophs. heterotrophs such as the ladybug مثلا, they are organisms that need to what? They need to do what? They need to ingest food to obtain energy. بيحتاجوا إنه هم to ingest food، إنهم يأكلوا البلانت أو يأكلوا الأشياء الأخرى كي يستطيعوا إنهم يصير عندهم طاقة. ما بيقدروا يعملوا طاقتهم مع نفسهم زي الأوتوتروفز، لا بيحتاجوا إنهم يأكلوا إشي تاني to ingest other food to be able to make their energy. تمام؟ طيب we are going to talk about the second point in the lesson, or the second main point, which is metabolism. in metabolism we're going to talk about the pathways, which was one of the essential questions or the essential main points that we should know in this lesson. First, what is metabolism? ايش هو الميتابوليزم؟ الميتابوليزم كل الchemical reactions اللي بتحصل في خلايا الإنسان. all the chemical reactions that happen in a cell. A series of chemical reactions in which a product of one reaction is the substrate or a reactant for the next reaction is called a metabolic pathway. فأنا عندي إشي اسمه metabolic عندي إشي اسمه metabolic pathway. ما هو الميتابوليك pathway؟ الميتابوليك pathway it's a series، تمام، a series of chemical reaction where the product، تمام، the product of reaction 1 is what is the reactant، الreactant أو السبستريت لمين؟ لreaction 2. يعني أنا عندي البرودكتس، تمام، البرودكتس of reaction 1، الأشياء اللي نتجت عندي من الرياكشن الأول بتصير إيش؟ بتصير الرياكتنت أو السبستريت للرياكشن الثاني. هذا اسمه metabolic pathway. الميتابوليك pathways لهم two broad types. عندي two types of metabolic pathways، catabolic و anabolic. عندي شو؟ عندي catabolic، آسفة، عندي catabolic و anabolic، تمام، catabolic و anabolic pathway. هلا الكاتابوليك pathway releases energy by شو؟ by breaking down large molecules. يعني أنا بالكاتابوليك I release energy by what? By breaking down large molecules into small molecules. أما الانابolic pathway إيش بيسوي؟ الانابolic pathway stores energy or uses the energy that was released by the catabolic pathway to do what? To build large molecules. يعني الكاتابوليك ايش بيسوي؟ انت تذكري كاتابوليك زي كاتاستروفي، تمام؟ كاتابوليك حياخد الموليكيولز الكبيرة و it will break it down to smaller molecules. When we take something big and we break it down we release energy، تمام؟ طبعا احنا حكينا انه هاي metabolic pathways، واحنا حكينا الميتابوليك pathway البرودكت تبع واحد لازم يكون الرياكتنت تبع واحد، صح؟ so الانابوليك reaction ايش بيسوي؟ الانابوليك بيعمل العكس. الانابوليك بيستخدم الانرجي اللي was released by the catabolic pathway. It takes that energy and it uses it to build the smaller molecules into one large molecule. تمام؟ it uses the energy to build large molecules from smaller molecules. هلا relationship بين الانابolic and catabolic pathway it results in what? In the continual flow of energy within an organism. تمام؟ it allows the flow of energy in an organism. هلا خلينا ناخذ example على هدول الباثويز. أول وحدة عنا photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is anabolic. تمام؟ photosynthesis is an anabolic pathway in which light energy from the sun، زي ما حكينا light energy من sun is converted to chemical energy for the use by the cell. الطاقة من الشمس تحول إلى طاقة كيميائية or chemical energy for the use by the cell. تمام؟ ايش الرياكتنتس او البرودكتس تبعون الفوتوسينثيسيس؟ عندك نستخدم السن، تمام، زائد ال CO2 اللي هو الكربون دايوكسيد. يلا نستخدم الواتر yes we use carbon dioxide, water and the sun لحتى ايش نعمل؟ to form glucose and oxygen. So photosynthesis حكينا is anabolic and it uses water, carbon dioxide and the sun to create glucose and oxygen. تمام؟ The second pathway we're going to talk about is cellular respiration. Cellular respiration is catabolic. تمام. Cellular respiration is a catabolic pathway in which organic molecules are broken down to release energy for use by the cell. Photosynthesis ايش بتعمل؟ بتعمل الجلوكوز عشان تحفظ فيه الانرجي, to store energy. That's what anabolic does. It creates large molecules to store energy. اما الكاتابوليك breaks down زي cellular respiration, breaks down large molecules to release energy. بالcellular respiration ايش عنا الاكسجين, وايش احذروا oxygen to break down مين الجلوكوز to produce what? To produce it results in the production of carbon dioxide, CO2, and water. So إذا لاحظنا, if we see here, oxygen with glucose is the product of photosynthesis, and it was used as the reactant here. The product of cellular respiration هي CO2H2O تستخدم as the reactant في الphotosynthesis. تمام. This creates in an ecosystem photosynthesis with cellular respiration form a cycle. ايش هي هاي السايكل؟ عندك الsun هون. تمام. عندك الsun. From the sun we have the process of photosynthesis. تمام. We have the process of photosynthesis for autotrophs. We have the product of oxygen with glucose. تمام. Then cellular respiration uses oxygen and glucose for cellular respiration to happen. تمام. Then cellular respiration's products are CO2 و water, which are used by photosynthesis. وهاي هي السايكل اللي بتمشي الايكوسيستم. آخر فكرة بالدرس هي ATP, which is the unit of cellular energy. Now, the last idea in the lesson, which we said is ATP, which is the unit of cellular energy. هلا, in living organisms, chemical energy is stored in biological molecules that can be converted from one form of energy when needed. ايش هاي biological molecule اللي stores my energy? ATP. تمام. ATP أو adenosine triphosphate, هاد اسمها الكامل اللي لازم تعرفيه. adenosine triphosphate. Adenosine triphosphate is what ATP stands for. ATP is the most important biological molecule that provides chemical energy. خلينا نطلع على structure of ATP. ATP is a storehouse of chemical energy. It can be used by cells in a variety of reactions. هلا ايش ال structure of ATP؟ عندي an adenine base, a ribose sugar, and 3 phosphate groups. تمام. adenine من الاسم adenine adenosine. تمام. ribose مين ما بيحب sugar. تمام. So we have adenine ribose because it's called adenosine triphosphate. Aden stands for the adenine. Zine stands for the ribose. So adenosine stands for adenine and the ribose sugar. And then triphosphate stands for the 3 phosphate groups because I have 3 phosphates in ATP. Okay? ATP is the most abundant carrier molecule in cells and it is found in all types of organisms. تمام? Let's look at the ATP function. هلا ATP releases energy when the bond between the second and the third phosphate groups is broken. يعني when I break the bond between the second phosphate and the third phosphate, I have what? I have a release of energy. As we can see here, we broke the bond, so we had a release of energy. Okay? When it is broken down and we have a release of energy, بيصير عندي another molecule called adenosine diphosphate. adenosine diphosphate عنده الأدينين وعنده الرايبوز نفس ال ATP. بتغير بوين؟ بتغير في الدايفوسفيت. داي بنعرف معناتها 2. It's called diphosphate because I only have the 2 phosphates left. صح؟ لأنه I broke the bond between the second and the third phosphate. So now I have the third phosphate is alone and I have 2 phosphates here. So I have adenosine diphosphate. Okay? Energy is stored لما أرجع هاي الفوسفيت جروب لل ADP. يعني شو عندي؟ ATP when I break the bond between the second and the third phosphate group, I have ADP and this releases energy. This releases energy. But when I change ADP to ATP, I store energy. We can change between them. نعرف بالremoval of the phosphate or the adding of the phosphate. If I remove the third phosphate, I will have ADP. If I add a phosphate, I will have ATP. هلا sometimes in some rare cases ADP adenosine diphosphate becomes adenosine monophosphate AMP. وبنعرف mono معناتها 1. معناته I break the bonds between the first and the second phosphate and I am only left with 1 phosphate, hence adenosine monophosphate. There is less energy released from this reaction. The energy released from changing ADP into AMP is a lot less than changing from ATP to ADP. That is why most of the reactions in the cell are involving ATP and ADP. This is the end of the first lesson. Hopefully this cleared up any of the confusions regarding this lesson. Soon I will post a video for some of the questions about this lesson or looking at some of the questions in this lesson from the chapter assessment. Thank you for listening.